We're now on to part 3 of my Muppet series that I'm doing. I'm gonna do like a marathon video of all my Jim Henson videos. So far we have the Little Mermaid thing he tried doing. We have Muppet Vision 3D, and then we did SNL, and now we are up to Jim Henson's failed pilots. Now, I know what you're thinking, Amy, wasn't Little Mermaid also a failed pilot? It was. But he had 2 others that I just learned about. No, not just learned about. I had this planned out. So who am I to say, I found it recently. But these 2 shows are very unique, and I would like to get into them because I'm liking what I'm seeing. So no more dilly-dallying. Let's talk about Jim Henson's failed pilots, starting off with Puppetman. Puppetman was a sitcom pilot produced for CBS, which aired on July 3rd of 1987 as a part of the CBS Summer Playhouse, a wheelie dumping ground for unsold pilots. That's so sad. The proposed series, developed by Jim Henson jointly with his, hey, that's his agent, Bernie Brillstein, his Brillstein Productions. Anyways, it was set backstage at a TV Kids puppet show. Fred Newman starred as Gary, the lead puppeteer, with veteran Muppet performer Richard Hunt as Gary's partner, whose puppet characters seem to have minds of their own. Already, this sounds just a little bit familiar to that show I reviewed, that Lost Media puppet show, Lost on Earth, the show that Plankton made. Editing Amy, the video I'm talking about is Lost on Earth. I made a video about this show, and it was created by the voice of Plankton, Mr. Lawrence, aka Doug Lawrence, aka Douglas Lawrence Osawoski. Man, he got a lot of names, but yeah, it was Plankton who made this show. I vibe with it, honestly. Here's the premise of the show, as well as the characters. For 6 months, station WGRF TV in Madison, Wisconsin, has been running the daily puppet series Dragon Time, focusing on a group of dragons and a human friend, Lady Rita, a damsel in princess garb. The sole set is an elaborate
Turreted.
Oh, turreted. I swear I know how to read. So let's try that again. The Soul set is an elaborate multi-turreted castle with a large clock festoon with the Dragon Time logo as a major feature. The castle's puppet residents include Butane, the lead dragon, Earl, Butane's goofy sidekick, the loudmouth female Gerda, Cinders, a young girl dragon, Candle, a cute baby dragon, and the vamp Desiree. Clyde is a full-bodied dragon mailman who lives outside of the castle. Puppets are almost as colorful as their characters, led by amiable Gary, recruited to the station for his puppetry skills and creativity, and performer of Butane, Candle, and Clyde. The eccentric Dell is Gary's longtime partner. His 2 main puppets, Gertha and Earl, reflect conflicting aspects of his own personality. Holly is the commonsensical female puppeteer and performer of Cinders and Desiree. Lady Rita is played by the fiery-tempered Rita, the only star who operates her own head and who often insists on inserting her own folk singing into the program. Unscripted. Behind-the-scenes crew is led by Herod producer/director Bud Stone, a veteran of local television and a man who'd rather be sitting on a 50-yard line, and who, despite apparently having an affair with Rita, is equally dismayed by her showboating. Station head Mitchell Bennett, a 30-year-old yuppie station manager, is only concerned about the ratings. Bud's son, Bud Stone Jr., more commonly known as Little Bud, is a young wannabe cool dude floor manager, and Dee is the flappable female production assistant. Zach is Gary's 5-year-old son, whose reintroduction into Gary's life is a focal point of the pilot, setting up a balancing act between the studio family and Gary's own family life. Additional humor is mined from the contrast between the Squeaky Clean Kids show and sometimes salty behind-the-scenes behavior of both people and puppets. I know what you're thinking. What's the plot of the pilot? And why didn't they like it? Listen, man, I can't answer the second question, but I can answer the first question. Tensions on the Dragon Time set between Del and Rita continue and are heightened by a ratings battle against a rival station's Eye on Madison program featuring a milkmaid bikini pageant crowning Miss Low Fat. Alright, that's actually kind of... Meanwhile, Gary receives a call from his ex-wife Beth in Chicago, sending their son Zach to stay with Gary for a week while she auditions for a musical in New York City. What musical? I didn't watch the pilot, so they probably said the musical, but I didn't watch it, so I don't know what musical she auditioned for. Gary worries about whether he can properly bond with his son, and the ratings battle and production problems cause him to compromise over his duties to Zach, a situation exuberated when Beth is hired for a road company tour, and Zach becomes his responsibility indefinitely. Zach thus has trouble adjusting, and is hurt when his dad assigns little Bud to take him on a promised farm trip instead. Both worlds collide during the next day's taping, when Rita quits in a huff and Gary, still in costume as Clyde, rushes in ailing Zach to the hospital. Wow! In typical family sitcom fashion, Del reluctantly puts his differences with Rita aside for the good of the show, and Gary uses his puppets to express his true love for his son. In a not-so-typical family sitcom fashion, Dragon Time wins the ratings war by default when one of the Eye of the Madison milkmaids turns out to be a... This show would not age well. Maybe this is why. It says one of the milkmaids turns out to be a man. Slay. Anyways, cheese and dairy products in general are a running motif, as it is extemporaneous puppetry, e.g., Gary turning into an oven mitt and salt shakers into a breakfast. Let's just move on. Here's some differences between the script and the pilot. As with many sitcom pilots, several cuts in dialogue are made throughout, including some that might have violated character. Self-centered Mitchell behaving affectionately towards Zach. Several self-referential comments about puppetry and children's programming are cut, including Cinder's line to Butane, "My mommy said you're a bad influence, no socially redeeming value," and Bud's admonition to his son, "Clean up around here, but don't touch the puppets. You never know where they've been." Additionally, some of Gertha's more acerbic or surreal quips were cut. In the scene which remains in the script, which may have been filmed, Gary/Clyde's hospital visit is extended. While reading magazines and pacing in the waiting room, a Japanese patient, played by Tab Marino, enters and then runs away, screaming, "Godzilla! Godzilla!" Human is another television pilot that was developed by Richard Hunt and Brian Mule. Well, I don't think Brian Mule did the other one, but Richard Hunt did the first one. I cannot find footage of this one. There's only pictures, so take this with a grain of salt. So following the unsuccessful attempt to pitch a behind-the-scenes puppet sitcom with Puppetman, Richard Hunt wanted to reattempt that idea. So the collaboration of Brian Mule, he subsequently developed a pilot titled They're Only Human, helming the pitch with Henson's support. The pilot stars Richard Hunt as Kyle, a puppeteer for Mutt, a puppet dog, in a television show produced by Vicky, played by Catherine Cox, and Jerry Nelson as Davis, Vicky's ex-husband and Shakespearean actor, who later becomes the puppeteer for Dutch, another puppet dog. The pilot was pitched for CBS in February of 1990, but nothing really came of it. Hunt and Mule initially developed a similar concept titled Read My Lips, focusing on puppet characters who come to life after their performers leave them for the night. After a year and a half of periodic revisions, the collaboration ultimately resulted in what became They're Only Human. We may not have the footage, but we got the pilot strip, baby! Let's go! What's the plot? Well, the pilot begins with Mutt coming in to introduce himself and begins to tell a story to the viewer, until he's suddenly interrupted by Dutch, who asks to borrow a ladder. Mutt explains to him that he's telling a story to the human beings, being us, the viewer. But Dutch tells him that as a puppet, he's tired of hearing about human beings, and asks him to leave his fascination with humans in the workplace. Did Mickey Mouse take Walt Disney home with him after a hard day's work? Does Kermit the Frog take Jim Henson home after a long day on set? Dutch says. Despite this, Mutt dismisses Dutch and begins his story. You know what? Richard, I know you probably wrote this. God bless. That was the bet. That was gold. I'm actually serious. That was pretty funny. In an office, Mutt and his puppeteer Kyle, played by Richard Hunt, speak to each other as they flip through various actors' pictures looking to hire a puppeteer for Dutch. Vicky, their show's producer, walks in. Vicky asks to speak to Kyle, but from behind a cubicle, only converses with Mutt instead. She presses Kyle about the pressure to find another puppeteer quickly, as the show starts filming in 2 days. Kyle comes out of the cubicle to prove that it isn't as easy as it looks. Nevertheless, Vicky tells Kyle that she'd like to keep her jobs, which Mutt quips, "To work or not to work." After remembering the Shakespeare reference, this gives Vicky an idea of a possible performer to play Dutch, and she dashes out of the room. And this is where she decides to hire her ex-husband. You know what? Good stuff, Vicky. Good stuff. But anyway, it's exactly what you would expect it to be. There's just like a little bit of conflict. Like the ex-husband don't want to be a puppet dude. It's too late anyway. And then it cuts back to Mutt and Dutch, and Dutch is like, "Man, I don't care." And that's literally the whole thing. We're going to end off my Muppet Marathon with Sam and Friends, but I will be back with a Jim Henson video when I talk about Labyrinth, because I just watched a video from my favorite YouTuber, and I was unaware that Labyrinth had a prequel. Game changer. I'll see you all in the next video.